more at all ages. My son is 19. He should be sleeping almost 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours a night. Wow. If you have a teenager, they can sleep 12 hours in a row. Turns out their brains really need that. And as we get older, we, at my age, late 50s, hate to admit that we should be sleeping 8 to 10 hours a night for our good brain health. So think about that, all right? Then last but not least, we all need to exercise. Dr. Isaacson says, not just exercise, but vigorous exercise 3 times a week, where you get your body moving and you get your body sweating. Love him. Tough thing for us. In all this heat, we have to all do it inside, but we need to get out. A little bit of exercise can go a long way for our hearts and turns out for our brain health as well. Now, there's great hope there for generations moving forward. Where there's hope for the ones who are suffering now, if we don't have a lot of quote unquote hope, there's lots. If there's not a cure, there's lots of hope. We're here to give you that hope. Boy, I did that backwards. So remember, Alzheimer's is about having hope moving forward. We're here to support you. And then moving forward with better sleep, better diet, better exercise. If you take those 3 things. So what if you kind of mentioning that you're beginning, do I have Alzheimer's? Do I have dementia? Next slide, Ellen. Let's see what all of this really means. Memory loss, of course, is what we all associate with this, correct? Memory loss. Sure, we all lose our keys every now and again, correct? Well, turns out it's just not about losing your keys. It's about memory loss that really affects your daily life, right? Always losing your keys, all right? Not knowing what to do with those keys when you have them. Front door, car, what are they doing anymore? Okay, those are real red flags. Difficulty performing familiar tasks. Someone who's a chef, cooked all of her life and then now can't quite find what pan. Doesn't really know what to do in the kitchen. It's not instinctive anymore. That's a warning sign that you may really be having a loved one who's struggling. Problems with language. I may sound a little bit today, right? But language that's real difficult. They can't find their words, all right? Hand me that fork, but it's pointing to a pen. That's a red flag. Those are hard things to pick up on in the beginning, but these are some memory loss issues, warning signs that we need to be aware of. All right, this one, disorientation to time and place. Of course, when your brain's not working, okay, you sometimes go back into memories that are fresh in your mind, but they are not current. Memories are everything, even things we've watched on TV over time. But when those things begin to get mixed up and they're not sure, is it Monday, is it Friday? We all do that a little bit. But when it's regular and when you find you're always telling them what day and where they are, you know, you can maybe see a little hesitation about, why are you bringing me here? They may not know where they are. Disorientation to time and place. Then poor or decreased judgment is another warning sign. All right, you walk outside, hot. If they walk outside today with big coat on, might be a red flag, all right? That one's pretty good. Going out in the cold without a jacket is a pretty common. More specific to us is like going out in the summer with a coat. But difficulty with personal hygiene, grooming. My aunt was meticulous. She never walked out the house without lipstick on. When she didn't remember to brush her hair, that was a pretty good sign we had some red flags going, right? Next slide, Ellen. Thank y'all for being patient, okay? Problems with abstract thinking, all right? List of steps to go to take a bath, like they're not quite sure where to go next. That's abstract thinking. Missing things, okay? my husband walks in and puts keys in a different spot every day. There's just no way he's going to remember to go back to the same place. That's a tough thing when you start misplacing those things, right? Ladies with jewelry. Just recently, we were cleaning out a cabinet in my house, and I found a ring of my husband's from his work days. He said, "Where'd you get that?" We didn't know he had put it in this box in the back of a drawer. Probably would have been years before I found it. But he was accusing me of what'd you do with my ring? Where did it go? Because he couldn't find it, okay? Ladies, jewelry, men with all kinds of things, you know, tie tacks, just things that they may not use every day, and then they put them down and we don't really know where they put them, okay? And it really can be accusatory to those caregivers who are living with them. But if you can be aware that that's a pretty good warning sign and that that's a tough thing to deal with for them, that you can really help them with that. Okay, changes in mood and behaviors and personality. You know, a sweet man who always would never curse, suddenly things are not, he's losing his temper all the time and beginning to curse at people. My dad would never have cursed. And when he got dementia, he would stomp his cane and get really upset and start cursing. It was like a different person there. Where did this cursing come from? That's a pretty good sign that they're struggling with their memory and really frustrated, okay? Loss of initiative. They always were in the backyard gardening. Now, they don't even remember the garden's there. They're not interested in the garden. You say, let's go out and garden. And they say, oh, it's too hot. Didn't bother them before, right? They were out gardening. They grew tomatoes. They grew green beans. When they stopped doing those things, my aunt had dementia. She had a tea every year. I walked into her house and went to clean up for the tea, and she had been putting dirty dishes back in the cabinet. Well, I knew then we had that was a big red flag for my family, that she was not thinking clearly and that there was something going on. Turns out she was advanced stage Parkinson's, and just happened to be that I noticed she was putting away dirty dishes. Unusual warning signs, things that are not themselves, those are your red flags. All right, let's go to the next slide, Ellen. True or false? Is memory loss a natural form of aging? If you think it's true, put the thumbs up. If you think it's false, no reaction. So take your time, go down to my little face where it says reaction. Let's see, is memory loss a natural form of aging? True or false?
We're getting a good bit of thumbs up, Ann.
Yeah, memory loss as we get older. Mild memory loss is absolutely. So thumbs up for you who put that thumbs up. Mild memory loss is not that. It doesn't necessarily indicate as you age, that there's a big problem. When memory loss is a problem, okay, it interferes with your daily life. I want you to think of like freckles. I have a lot of freckles on my arm. Don't know if you can see that up through the camera. But those freckles are normal for a person my age, okay? And they might get a little worse as I get older, but that's okay, right? But to be honest with you, when those freckles begin to take over my arm and I can't see my regular skin, then I might have a problem. I want you to think of memory like that, okay? Little bit of memory as we go along, that happens. But when it takes over and really interferes with how you're functioning, that's when we have red flags and really need to address those problems, okay? The other thing I want to mention right now is that it's very true that women are more susceptible. More women are diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and dementias than men. 1 in 6 men, 1 in 9 women, okay? And true, you know, 20% are more likely, it's more likely 20% of women will develop Alzheimer's than men. That's a lot. There are genes, and let's go to the next slide, Ellen. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Alzheimer's disease and is it hereditary? Alzheimer's disease can be hereditary. We all know they found that maybe you know, but there is a gene that they can identify in some individuals. Doesn't necessarily mean you will, but it does mean that you are more likely, okay? How it affects us is all individualized. What I will look like if and when, whoop, I'm an Alzheimer's patient, is very different than someone else. There are similar things as you progress, but in the beginning, how it affects me, it's all individualized. So it's really tough to identify those warning signs. Research, this is a very exciting new piece of information that just came out this month. Research is very close to using a blood marker for identifying AD in the blood, okay? And for early diagnosis. Can you imagine how magnificent that would be for us to have that information where we could really make our plans? Doesn't mean that you would definitely get it, but it does mean that your chances are higher, just like the gene, okay? But to determine your gene is not just a blood test. It's an involved process, and it's expensive. So research is really progressing that can help us identify Alzheimer's. This is a very interesting, Dr. Isaacson says that almost 20 years prior to the first signs, the first warning signs, the first red flags, your brain is developing these plaques. So I'm already in the age that I need to be watching my diet, sleeping more, exercising more, because I'm in my late 50s. 65 and up are common in Alzheimer's disease. So my 20 years started, wow, in my 35, okay? So you can really affect your generation behind you by giving them this information and understanding that if your family is dealing with Alzheimer's disease, there could be a hereditary factor, but it can be reversed with real concentration. And they believe that that can really make a difference, okay? So Alzheimer's absolutely affects more than just older individuals. More and more diagnoses are going into younger ages. They just know a little bit more about it. And we're also, thank goodness, more aware of these warning flags and signs. So we can really work to help those people. Really and truly, research says we all need to work on our own brain health, all right? The brain health of our children, the brain health of our teenagers. I want you to go to that website for Dr. Isaacson and really learn about that, okay? True or false, next slide. I hope you're paying attention. I haven't lost you yet, okay? Stay with me. True or false is Alzheimer's disease is not fatal. If you think it's true, put the thumbs up. If it's false, don't worry about it, okay? True or false? What you think, Ellen?
We're not getting any
Not
reactions.
getting anything because there's a lot of experienced people out in our audience today. And we know that this disease is fatal and that it can be very, very tough, long-standing disease that can end. That's the end result is fatality, okay? So we have to be prepared to walk that path to that end. And we here are very knowledgeable. I'm just a little cog in this magnificent wheel of support here. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's move on to the next slide, Ellen, because this is the part that we really, so we have these loved ones who are affected. So how can we help them? You've seen the warning signs, you've gotten the diagnosis. What is the language of dementia? Is that such a thing? Yes, it is. Dementia is a different language. Again, it affects everyone differently. So my language in dementia and your language in dementia are going to look different. So we have to really be aware. Dementia diminishes the ability to communicate. Remember, we talked about can't find words. Well, if you can't find words, it's hard to communicate, right? Difficulty expressing thoughts and emotions. Emotions are just overcoming you as a dementia patient. And so it's not, that brain is not pushing out those words and thoughts about what's really happening inside of us. And then, of course, if you're not processing well and that brain is failing, then we have difficulty understanding others. Those are three really difficult language barriers that we have to overcome, all right? Aphasia is what happens when we can't find words and use words, okay? Instead of words, our loved ones can do other things. You could probably give me a few examples. I'll throw a few out. They hit, they yell, they disappear, they withdraw. It's not always aggressive. A lot of times it's inward, okay? They get frustrated. If you can't communicate, how do you get your needs met, right? My uncle in his late stages was an arthritis patient. He could not say his elbow ached. So we had to go through ways to figure out if his arthritis was really hurting him that day. Because arthritis can hurt one day and not hurt the next. But we didn't want him to suffer. So those are just language issues that are not there for them and can create challenging behaviors and outcomes that are tough on caregivers. But we can do things to really better understand. So let's go to the next slide, Ellen. And let's talk about communication obstacles. That's sort of what we've been talking about. They can't find the right words, right? They use the same word over and over. None of you have experienced that, right? Right. Over and over, you answer the same question. They invent new words. The fork is a what? Is a clam, is a whatever. They'll come up with a word that doesn't have anything to do with what is a fork. Okay, I'll never forget the day my aunt picked up a fork and said, what do I do with this? Here, Nan, I'll show you. And I showed her what to do with the fork. She did it fine. But she no longer knew what that fork was supposed to do. Can't organize their words. Their sentences go in and out. Okay, my husband does this. You know, he's looking for the word. He finds the word, but it's not used in the right context. Hand me that book. Where's the book? He's wanting the pen. The pen book, the book pen. They really can't organize their words correctly, all right? And they revert if you are a multi-language person. My husband loves to speak Spanish. He can blurt out Spanish. He's not of that origin, but he learned that in college, and he's always loved it. Well, oh my goodness, he's trying to talk to me in Spanish, and I have to say, hey, go back to the English, because he loves it. It's a language of his heart. And if you have a first language, if you have someone who is French or Spanish speaking, they may revert back to that. So we have to accommodate those language difficulties. And then increase use of gestures. They need to point. They need to try to communicate outside of language. And sometimes that can really help, okay? Let's go to the next one, Ellen, and this is where our helpful tips come involved. So it's frustrating when your husband is looking for a pen and asking for a book, all right? I'm back to that patience issue, right? Remain calm. Man, you can tell my voice. I get excited. I want to yell at you if, you know, make my emphasis. Well, that's not very helpful. I've had to learn how to be very calm in my language. You need to work with caregivers to remember that calming language, that upbeat yet calming use of words. Use comforting statements. You look great. Oh, that's good. Here's this. You know, you don't have to call it a book again, but here, you can use this to write with. That's a way to use a comforting statement and send positive messages that are not derogatory, because the more you tell them how wrong they are, the more the language shrinks. And they're not telling you what they need to tell you. And that can create a lot of frustration. Smile and nod a lot. I'm really good at this at my house. I walk up, I really work on smiling, okay? Smile, nod, yes. little bit over gestures that they can really understand. This one is tough, all right? Never argue. Are you kidding me? He just said the most ridiculous statement. But it's hard on him. He doesn't know that was a ridiculous statement. And the more you point it out to him, the less he feels, not the more. Okay? Truly and truly, dignity and respect. I love the 16-second rule. When someone speaks to you, it could take them 16 seconds to understand your reply. Do you want to go to lunch? 16 seconds is a long time. And they're looking at you and you're getting frustrated because they're not talking back. Okay? Remember, it takes a person with dementia a long time to process that. Their brains aren't working right. So we need to be real patient and remember, count to 16. We'll talk a little bit about that again. Dignity and respect. Would we be treating a person that had diabetes or cancer or COPD, something like that? Would we treat them different than the illness of Alzheimer's? If you can recognize these difficulties and these challenges as the real illness that is Alzheimer's and dementia, then it's much easier for you to accept and deal with as a caregiver. And that's what we're here today about, effective communication and really reaching that person, that loved one that we're struggling with. Okay? All right, let's go to the next one. Ellen, are y'all hanging with me or are you sleeping by now? True or false? Here's another question for you. Does your loved one test the limits of your patience? Did we ask that already? No. True, you put your thumbs up. No, you put your thumbs down. And I love that we're going to get both of those answers. Let's see, Ellen, what do we think? What do you think?
We're getting lots of thumbs up.
Yeah, lots of thumbs up because we're all human. And when you have the same question asked you 4 times, when they ask you for something, you give it to them. I want some water, you give it to them, they meant coffee, right? Those are frustrating situations for us as humans, as emotional beings of ourselves. But we have to remember that my husband knows what a cup of coffee looks like. Sometimes he wants water and he means his coffee cup. And I hand him the water and he says, why are you giving me water? Okay, is this the cup you want? So point to a coffee cup. But man, that's frustrating for me. It's early in the morning. I'm trying to get to work. I don't know which coffee cup you want. I thought you wanted the water. You said water. It's very hard not to reply like that. We're human and our patience is difficult. I tell all my friends, I thought I was a patient person when I had children. I had 3 children. And boy, by the time I had them raised, I thought, man, I've really been taught patience. Then my husband got sick and I reevaluated that statement because it's a different kind of patient. When you're dealing with a parent who's always been someone that you worked, that gave you advice and now you're correcting, quote unquote, correcting them. Really, we need to be loving, caring, respectful. Understand that if they could call it a coffee cup, it'd be called a coffee cup. We all know they know that it's a coffee cup. But that brain, that Alzheimer's disease, that dementia is keeping that from coming to their mind, and so they call it something else. Okay? We have to be patient with ourselves. We have to give ourselves a break for being regular humans who are going to get frustrated and who are going to be impatient, and you have to free yourself of that and move on, okay? Every day is not going to be perfect, but tomorrow, the next hour, the next round of 3 questions is another opportunity for you to kind of practice this patience and understand it's not my loved one, it's the disease working. Okay, next slide. We're back to being patient, right? I want you to remember, why am I talking? Obviously, this is a tough one for me. I'm a big talker. I mean, this is so much fun for me to sit here and just talk to y'all. Love it. But when I'm working with a person who is affected, when I'm living with a person who is affected, when I'm caring and loving on that person, I have to remember, why am I talking? Would you like a cookie? And no response. We have to wait, and wait. That's tough. But remember that 16-second rule and tell yourself, why am I talking? By the time you finish that, they might actually be answering you. But you got to pay attention enough to get, yep, they do want the cookie, or no, not that cookie, right? This is another really good rule. Go to the next one, Ellen. Next slide. Isn't she good? Ellen, at the end of this, we're going to give her a round of applause. She has really kept up with me. Let's talk about the 3 R's and how we communicate better. Reality, reassure, redirect. All right. Love that little logo, the 3 R's. I want you to keep that in your head when you're dealing with your loved ones. Okay. Get into their reality. My uncle talked about his childhood, about he was the oldest of 7 and he was the only boy. He could tell that story 10 times in a row. But that was his reality in his head. Reassure them that, oh, that must have been a wonderful way to live. You were king of the hill. Reassure them. Let them know it's okay. Let them know when they ask for a book and mean a pen, hand them the pen. Here you go. Reassure. Pet. If you can tap, hold their hand. My aunt can just squeeze your hand. She can't talk anymore. But when you hold her hand, that really reassures her. Little things like that can make a big difference. Then if they're really functioning and they're really doing, you know, they're mad because you're handing them the book and not the pen, then we need to kind of redirect. Redirect is a tough one. What can you direct them to? I love, love, love. My aunt has a beautiful engagement ring that she's loved all of her life. I can't tell you how many times I said, oh, Nanny, your ring's beautiful today. She looks down at the ring. It is pretty. Might be new to her today. Doesn't matter. It redirected her from her frustration of not getting what she wanted. Reality, reassure, redirect. Another real tip in dealing lovingly with this disease. Not just a condition. It's not what they're doing to you. It's a disease. Okay, let's go to the next one. And I love this. Things to keep in mind, and we're doing it. Things to keep in mind. Accommodate the behavior, not control the behavior. So a lot of us come from our parental point of view. If you've gotten to be my age or anywhere near, you've been around kids and you've directed them and tried to control them. Okay, but we're dealing with adults. Accommodate the behavior, not control the behavior. What do I mean by that? Make that situation okay, all right? Make that feel good. You're not going to control him from walking down the hall, right, in search of the book that he thinks is the pen. It's very tough. But you can walk behind him and say, oh, I think I have what you're looking for. Is this the one? Is this the one? Not controlling him, right? We can change our behavior. We can't change theirs. So how you deal with it is the key. You can help yourself. I, again, have gained such patience in our last 4 or 5 years of dealing with my husband's illness. I didn't think I had any more to gain. But if not, I would have driven myself crazy. I did a few times, probably still will. But the reality is we can change how we behave and how we react, okay? Try to find the root cause of what's going on with them, all right? Are they not able to say what they need? Does their leg hurt? Are they anxious? Try to identify what's really finding the root of that problem that's going on. Focus on the person behind the disease. Your loved one is in there. We just have to find them and Remember that they're there. Touch that person. My aunt loves smiles. But she's different. She's no longer that smiling, loving person most of the time. But there are times when she shines right through. And those are the times we cherish, right? So we have to find the person behind the disease. All right, we're in different times now. Let's switch to the last slide before we kind of get moving on. We're in COVID-19 challenges, right? We have to live differently, operate differently. All of us do. They're challenges for us. Imagine what it's like for your loved one who is dealing with dementia and not understanding what's actually going on around them. They are not really aware and can't remember that this is a real serious virus. Why do you have a mask on? I can't see your face. These dementia-related issues, increased age, common health conditions, really accelerate and really accentuate how dangerous this virus can be for our loved ones, okay? The increased risk of this is real, and we have to really make accommodations. Isolation is a solution, right? It's difficult for that person who doesn't know why they can't get out, why people can't come visit. Why don't the grandchildren, I haven't seen them. I don't think she could remember that, but sure enough, she does, okay? Isolation can really create a difficult time for your loved one dealing with dementia. We need some reminders to keep them safe. Hand washing, all right? It's hard for us to remember. Imagine somebody who didn't wash their hands 10 times a day, right? Doesn't think there's any reason to do that. Supervise them kindly, respectfully. Do it with them. Not just say, hey, wash your hands. Do it with them. Oh, look, it's hand washing time, right? Very different. Covering your nose and your mouth during a cough and a sneeze. Hopefully you can keep a mask, right? You can't wear a mask in your house all day long, but you can do that if you're going out for a walk or if you're going to be around other people. Refraining from placing things in their mouths. Wow. This is a tough one. If you don't know what a pen is and you go to chew on it like a straw and you hand it to somebody else, we have to be really aware that those things can affect how this disease is spread, all right? Staying in a particular area. If you're visiting someone, you're outside social distancing, they don't know that they can't go across and sit next to your daughter and the grandchildren. They have to be reminded and respectfully, kindly. Taking medications appropriately. It's really important right now to stay healthy while this virus is going on. Don't not go to the doctor, just take the precautions. There's lots of telemedicine out there. We hope to really be able to gain some insight on how we can get telemedicine to our communities that are affected more. We're working on that one. Adopting social distancing and refraining from sharing items, right? That's hard for even us to do. So we have to be really aware of our loved ones who are doing this. Following any other procedures that would require memory and judgment. Remember, their memory and judgment is impaired with Alzheimer's, with dementias. So that memory and that judgment can really affect if they catch the disease, all right? COVID is tough for us to keep from catching it. I love being in the office, but we're doing it differently now. As a dementia patient, you have to be that person who's standing next to them. Don't have to explain it all, just need to make sure that those challenges are met so you can stay safe and they can stay safe. So let's go to the last slide and we'll talk a little bit. Now I'm Alzheimer's Services of the Capital Area. That's us. It's standing here, a library full of information. We're working so hard. We're getting a lot of this online. Everything we're doing is virtual. We want you here with us, okay? COVID has not slowed our services. We are working day in and day out. We're coming in and out of our office in the right populations. Caregiver support groups. If you're not in one, come join us. We'll have one. They're multiple times a month, all online. We'll help you. If this Zoom is not comfortable for you, we'll be there for you to get you up and running on the Zoom. We want you to know our education, our support services are so important for these families during this tough COVID world. And we want you to know that the resources are here. We're working very hard to continue with our respite reimbursement. With our Lunch and Learns, love that I was part of the Lunch and Learn today. Can you believe it? How much fun. We're doing our annual Walk to Remember. We're doing our Memories Lunch. We are moving forward in this new world of COVID that is all gone digital. Cannot believe that I made it through all of this. It's so hard to do this while y'all are out there. I hope you've been asking some questions. What do you think of how we are moving forward in this digital world? Give us some comments. Let us know what we can do that can be better for you. Ellen's going to give you a little review of this, but don't forget, we have so many resources. If you haven't visited the AFA, Alzheimer's Foundation of America, their website gives weekly and daily, they have activities for your loved ones that you can just, webinars that you can just click on and go to. Of course, we're here. We have so much here for you. We will send you anything, do what we need to do to support you. If you know families going through this who don't know who we are and who are hesitant to reach out to them. Tell them we're here, we're working. COVID has been really challenging for those older people who maybe were on the cusp and now their families are dealing with this. We are just understanding that and want to help. Capital Area Agency on Aging, if you live outside of the Baton Rouge area, don't hesitate. We will connect you with those services. If you're here in the Baton Rouge area, East Baton Rouge Council on Aging, still working hard, still providing services. We're so proud to be right here in Baton Rouge and right here with CAAA and working to give you all those services that you need. If we can help in any way, that's what we're here for. And we're almost 10 minutes till. That leaves us a little bit of time for questions. Again, my name's Ann Roeling. I've loved it. I hope I've smiled more than what I'm looking at right now. And I hope you've enjoyed a little bit. Let's see if there's any questions. Ellen, how you doing in there?
All right, Ann, let's see. We're getting some comments. We're getting some clapping hands for you.
Oh, how sweet.
We got